librarians, thank you for joining us tonight for back to school night. I wanted to take a few minutes to share some information about AP World History with you and kind of introduce you a little bit to what we're going to be studying and how our class works. So let's go ahead and get started. Taking a look at kind of just this phrase, history is who we are and why we are the way we are. History is not just the past, history is the present. And I really try to reinforce this in my class, that what we're learning today is so relevant to our lives today. And especially in the age of this pandemic that we're in and all of the issues that are happening in the United States right now, it's really important for them to understand that they are part of history and a very important part of history, and to see where their place is in that larger picture. So hopefully that's what's coming across to them. I want to start by just introducing you to our Google Classroom so you know what the students are seeing and where things are located. If you haven't had a chance yet, I highly recommend that you ask students to see their Google Classroom so that you can kind of see what they see on a daily basis, especially with distance learning, so that you're getting an idea of what they're getting every single day. I have everything that we do each day posted in the stream, and it's the only thing that I have posting in the stream. I took out all the other announcements and everything. So each day, if a student is absent, if it's later in the day and they forget what the homework assignment is, or whatever, they can come to the stream and they can see, all right, this is what we did for the day. Here's the homework. Here's any slides that Mrs. Povletich went over. So everything that they need is here. Any announcements that I make about upcoming assessments, that's where those are located as well. And then under the classwork is where what we do on a day-to-day basis is located. There's Zoom links, there are warm-ups that we do every day. When we need to do assessments, those happen in Jupiter Ed. There's a link for that. These under course information are kind of some of the most important resources that they have. And then the units are broken down. So each unit will have its own topic. And everything that we do is organized by day, so they can always go back to the stream or go back into the unit and see what did I need for that particular day. Usually labeled really well with the due dates. Some things are just materials, whereas other things are actual classwork that has a due date. And then up here at the top is their digital notebook that you may or may not have heard of yet. Hopefully you've seen it or heard of it. This is where they are doing all of their work for my class. For the most part, there's occasionally other assignments that happen in other places, but all of their work for their class goes here. And we've got, this is our first unit. So they're working their way through the various topics. Right now we're on topic 1.3. And this is where they're taking notes. This is where they're doing vocabulary. They're answering questions about things. We spent a lot of time in class yesterday going over how to take notes, and having looked at the notebooks for the first time over the weekend, I really got an idea of where their note-taking skills were and what adjustments we needed to make. And a lot of that just had to do with learning some of the Google tools and how to bullet and how to make adjustments in margins and how to adjust the size of text and use color and all those things that can make their note-taking more effective. So that's really been one of our focuses through this first section. This first unit is a lot of note-taking. It's a lot of setting up expectations for the year. It's creating a lot of background knowledge. So they are doing a lot of note-taking right now without a lot of fun projects and things, but that will change as we get a little bit further along and as we've had a chance to kind of establish some baseline content that we can then discuss and go into in more detail. So that's kind of Google Classroom. That's what it looks like. That's where things are located, and you can always ask them to see what they're doing in Google Classroom, and that's always a good idea. I have a 9th grader. I occasionally go in and check with him and just kind of see, let me see your Google Classroom, let me see what your classes are doing, because I know that a lot of you get the weekly summaries, but you don't necessarily actually go in and see the work. And so even though they're a little bit older now, it's still a good idea to do that. Okay. The next thing I wanted to share with you was what we're going to be studying this year. These are our units of study. Right now we're in Unit 1 on the Global Tapestry, and you'll see that the units are lumped together by time period. So these two units are both covering 1200 to 1450. This class was remodeled a year ago, where it used to cover the entire span of world history, and then they changed it to a modern world history course, and they started the starting point at the year 1200. Well, in this global tapestry unit, we're spending quite a bit of time kind of building our background knowledge of things that happened, kind of reviewing 7th grade history, 6th and 7th grade history, to bring us up to that point of 1200 in this time period that we're in now. So that's why this first part takes a lot of growth and building background information. Then we jump into, and we're going to get to the Mongols eventually in here, which students always like. Then we get into, now we're into the age of exploration and the interconnection between hemispheres and the impact that has on the world. And then we get into the age of revolutions, first the political revolutions and then the industrial revolution, which sort of brings us into the modern age. And then we finish the year with the 20th century and up to the present time. Our goal, if everything goes as planned, is that we would get through part of Unit 5, get as far as the political revolutions of Unit 5, and then deal with industrialization once we come back after winter break. So that's our goal. It's possible we will only get through Unit 4, but our goal is to get halfway through Unit 5 before winter break. That's kind of our long-range plan. All of this ties into the AP exam, which this year is going to be on Monday, May 10th. Oops, I didn't change the date on that. It should be 2021. The AP exam for world history is a tough one. I'm not going to lie to you about that. Students struggle with this. It's what we're going to be building towards the entire year. It is a very long, 3 hours and 15 minutes, and as of right now, there are no plans to change that for next year because of the pandemic. I mean, last year we had a modified exam that was only one essay in 45 minutes, but there are no plans to change it for this coming year. So this is what their exam will look like. 55 multiple choice questions, 3 short answer questions, which each have 3 parts to them. So it's actually 9 short answer questions. And then 1 document-based essay and 1 long essay where they have a choice of 3 different options. This multiple choice portion is very difficult because it's multiple choice that they haven't seen before. It's all what we call stimulus-based multiple choice. I'm going to show you some examples of that. The students have in Google Classroom this resource handbook that I gave them at the beginning of the year, and this pretty much has the kind of meat and potatoes of the entire course. It's really the core elements of the course with lots and lots of different examples. So if I go to the AP exam section here, I have it broken down by each type of question and then some sample questions that come after it. So this is an example of a stimulus-based multiple choice question where they are given a stimulus of some sort and then they're answering a question related to that. And usually there's one stimulus with anywhere from 3 to 6 questions that go along with it. And these are much more difficult than they've had to answer in the past. This isn't remembering history. This isn't pulling out dates and people. This is being able to make connections, being able to understand what the documents say, being able to connect the content that they're learning with what these historical documents mean, with what's going on in a map, with what's going on a chart. So it's very, very complicated compared to what they're used to. Sometimes they have to compare 2 different types of stimuli and use that in coming up with their response. This is the only type of questions that I ask on assessments all year because I don't want them to really get comfortable with, oh, I've got easy multiple choice questions, but then the AP exam's got much more difficult questions. So they are always answering stimulus-based multiple choice questions on every quiz, every test, because I want them as used to it as possible, and they will get better at it as the year goes along. It is very difficult, but they do, as we get into a couple months in, they are going to get better at knowing how to answer these questions and how to figure out what documents mean and what the authors are trying to say. You have to be patient and give them some time, but they will get better at it. And if we go a little bit further along, we can get into some other elements of the test. This is the short answer questions. These also usually have 2 out of the 3 of them will have a stimulus, and then Usually these are focused on being able to understand an author's argument or looking at what evidence would support or refute an author's argument. So again, that concept of being able to understand historical documents becomes very relevant. And then we get into the document-based question, which is the big essay where they're given 7 different documents and they have to respond to a prompt using those documents along with other evidence to support that prompt. A very difficult essay which we'll be working on starting in October. And then second semester we're going to get into the long essay question where they have 3 different ways that they can answer it. They can answer it as a comparison, as a cause and effect essay, or as a change in continuity over time essay. So we really have to teach 3 different styles of writing to write this one essay question on the exam. So my goal in this short amount of time that we had today was just to give you a little bit of an idea of what the class actually contained, what we're going to be doing kind of on a day-to-day basis, what our units are, and then what the AP exam looks like. As you know, I send out a weekly update, so I'm always trying to keep you up to date on what we're doing in class. And if you ever have any questions at all, please do not hesitate to reach out. I'm available through email and phone calls if you need to. And if you ever have a concern or would like more information on something, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you for taking the time tonight, and I look forward to hearing from you sometime, and hopefully meeting you in person in the spring. Thank you. Bye.